This is a question that goes back generations. Are the kids these days ruder than before? Or do people just have the wrong impression about how things were back in the good old days?
We actually have data now on this question. Almost half of the country believes that we are less polite than we were pre-pandemic.
Very interesting. So our mental health expert, Dr. Sheryl Ziegler, joins us now to talk about the so-called rudeness epidemic. Wow. Okay, so is this an epidemic? What's your take?
My take is, I mean, epidemic, right? It's a big word, so I don't know if I'm going to say epidemic, but do we have a change in culture, norms, expectations? I think absolutely. And so Pew Research did a study on this. They wanted to poll people and ask them. And so as you see, yes, big majority of people said yes. And then they also interviewed like Emily Post, which is, you know, a sort of an etiquette expert, to say, so is etiquette changing? And the short answer is like, yes, because of technology, because of the way we operate in the world. And they mentioned the pandemic because when people started working from home, and then you did that for extended periods of time, sometimes you do forget common courtesies and etiquettes in those kind of ways. So I think this is a really interesting idea. I do think we have a rudeness issue at the very least.
So then what is the ripple effect here, the domino effect? How does this affect us?
Well, it changes the way that we act. It changes our mood. This was really interesting, and our cognitive functioning. So from a research perspective, they looked at like you're more irritable when you're around people that aren't as polite, and then you are also less likely to function sharply when you're around people. And I could see that because let's say right now, if we were talking and I'm in the middle of telling you something and you just get your phone out, guess what I'm likely to do, right? When we keep talking, I'm gonna get my phone out while you're in the middle of telling a story. It's like contagious is the way it put it in this article. Like being rude is contagious.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Lauren walked in and she goes, do you think people are more rude these days? And I said, I don't think they're more rude. I just think the niceties that we used to have, like you would always open the door for someone or you would always look at someone in the eye if they walked down the aisle. Those things I feel really changed after the pandemic. Everyone, you know, had masks on and we didn't go places and we were like scared to like look at each other or whatever. And I feel like that has really changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think also I go back again to technology because people talking, what about people talking on the phone as they're grocery shopping and it's on speakerphone, right? Or I'll be someplace and maybe the kids are watching a show with no headphones on and I can't help it, but I keep looking because it's very distracting to me.
Yeah.
So I can understand how it affects when there's a show and it's like a little kid show and it's cartoons, you know, or someone's watching the news, whatever it is, it's distracting. So I think it's funny when I walked in today, the person in front of me held the door open and I said, oh,
Yay.
I'm doing a segment on polite and rudeness, thank you. And she's like, well, thank you. You made my day. Just for me pointing out to her to say thank you made her day. And I'm like, no, it's supposed to make my day. But I do think it'd be really nice for us to go back to becoming a lot more aware of how we talk to people, wait staff, maybe when you're at the airport and you're frustrated. Generally, it all boils down to stress. We are more stressed than usual, so this is not all about screens and technology, and therefore when we're more stressed, we have less patience, less ability to handle frustration and, you know, disappointment.
I think your story goes to show that the bad stuff is contagious, but the good stuff is contagious too.
Yes.
But I do also think that this younger generation is just a little bit more honest. They don't really sugarcoat things. Are there things that the younger generation is doing that the older generation is like, oh, I don't know about that?
Yes, I can give you a really quick example. When you get a text, if you're with someone from a younger generation, they're like, are you gonna respond to that? And an older generation person's like, yeah, like when I get to it, later. It doesn't, and they're like, do that immediately. You have to do that immediately. And so that's a big divide. And I get that with my own kids too. A text will come in and they'll say, are you gonna reply? And I'm like, when I get home, I'm driving right now. Like, you know, yes, could I use voice? But I don't feel that need to do that. Whereas a younger generation is so quick to respond. So that's a quick example of how we're incredibly different, but also just things like eye contact.
Yeah.
You know, truly just, I think even the niceties of the morning, like the person who opened the door for me said, did you have a nice weekend? Did you get to relax? Like that kind of, she was younger than me, right? And so she had excellent, whoever that was, I don't know her name, she works here. She had excellent, you know, social skills and it stood out for me. It was on my mind because we were talking about this, but it stood out. That was really nice. It's a great way to start a Monday morning. She said, oh, is this your Monday? And I said, yes, it is.
But isn't it sad that that stuff stands out? Like when someone asks you like, truly, how are you? Or how was your weekend? Or how are you doing? You're like, oh, well, I'm great. This is weird. We're having a conversation, you know?
Right.
So breaking the cycle of rudeness, is this like that whole saying of paying it forward?
Yes, I think it starts with awareness, right? It's hard to sort of say to yourself, have I been rude? Or especially, right, if there's some social context, there's context to everything. But thinking about maybe the context where you're going, how should I behave in that setting versus this one? Like this article, this was a Vox article, gave an example, like if you're, at a bar somewhere and you burp, that's more acceptable than if you're at a very nice dinner and you burp, right? Like, or just yelling, right? If you're at a sports game, you can scream and yell, but if you're sitting at a meeting, you're not supposed to do that. So think about the context and maybe think about how can you show up in a way that is polite. So instead of saying, how can I not be rude? You can flip that and say, how can I be polite? What can I do today to like make somebody smile, right? And to maybe connect with somebody, because that's really when it comes down to it, we just need more connection.
Oh, I love that. This was a good topic.
It was.
It's got us all talking this
Let's
morning.
all go be really nice to people today.
Yeah, see how it affects us
Just
too.
one nice thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. We really
Thank
appreciate
you for having me, Corey.